Jewish Channel's Week in Review. Shouts and booing at the Democratic National Convention. What did Israel have to do with it? How this leader in Israel's Knesset thinks you should vote this year. Getting hitched and getting it on film. And more of the Jewish news that's changing your world right now on this episode of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. The most boring of documents became the most dramatic, unscripted moments of the Democratic National Convention last week, after news reports that the party's platform removed the reference to Jerusalem as Israel's capital that was in the platform in 2008 when President Barack Obama was just a candidate and not also president. Something almost no mainstream reporters planned to read became the primary topic of conversation, asking Democrats why this reference to Jerusalem as Israel's capital was not part of the platform this year. By that point, it was too late to add the reference back in quietly. So when party leaders decided to add the Jerusalem reference plus a reference to God to the platform, doing so required a voice vote on the convention floor. Party rules require a two-thirds majority in the voice vote, and it was certainly more contentious than at least some party leaders expected.
The matter requires a two-thirds vote in the affirmative. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the... Let me do that again. All of those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. I guess I'll do that one more time. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, two-thirds have voted in the affirmative. The motion is adopted, and the platform has been amended as shown on the screen.
The controversy over the platform first came to light in a post on Twitter from the Republican Jewish Coalition and was described at length on the popular right-wing blog Yid with a Lid, written by Jeff Dunitz. The blog noted that among several paragraphs dealing with Israel and the Middle East, the new platform omitted language about isolating Hamas, the Palestinian refugee issue, and the final borders of a negotiated Palestinian state. The sentence that was removed that caught everyone's attention, though, was this: Jerusalem is and will remain the capital of Israel. The issue of recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital goes back to the Jewish state's founding. Soon after recognition of Israel's independence in 1948, Israel moved administrative offices to Jerusalem, but the United States kept its embassy in Tel Aviv in pointed protest of the claim that Jerusalem would be considered Israel's capital until further agreements had been reached with Israel's neighbors. In recent decades, some presidential candidates have said they would move the embassy to Jerusalem if elected, but none who became president actually did so. Many party platforms have similarly promised, and the presidents who've been elected from those platforms have also not done so. And since 1995, every president, every 6 months, has actively declined to move the embassy to Jerusalem. In that year, Congress passed a law requiring the U.S. Embassy to be moved to Jerusalem, but giving the president the opportunity to issue an order deferring the move for 6 months for reasons of national security. And every 6 months since, every president has issued the same order, more than 30 times in all, under Presidents Clinton, Bush, and Obama, which is why the embassy remains in Tel Aviv. The issue of the United States policy on the capital of Israel, you might recall, led to this dramatic moment in the White House press room earlier this year.
What city does this administration consider to be the capital of Israel, Jerusalem or Tel Aviv?
I haven't had that question in a while. Our position has not changed, Connie. Can we...
What's the capital?
You know our position.
I don't.
No, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. That's why she asked.
She does know.
I don't.
She does not know. She just said she doesn't know. I don't know.
Come on, let's not call on Christy. Go ahead.
Of course, Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney and his party are willing to say that a Romney presidency would see the embassy move to Jerusalem and that Jerusalem would be recognized as the capital of Israel. But so was candidate Barack Obama in 2008, and so was candidate George W. Bush in 2000. Nearly 12 years and 24 deferments later, neither did. And so it's assumed to be a certainty among all observers that a Romney presidency would neither move the embassy nor recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. But the Democratic Party as a whole has a somewhat different issue. Even if all of the discussion is simply for appearance's sake, and no one who takes a serious approach to U.S.-Israel policy expects Jerusalem to be recognized as Israel's capital anytime soon, the appearance of so many Democratic delegates shouting no and then booing could reverberate in many voters' homes nonetheless. And for more on this issue, we here at the Jewish Channel have assembled the comprehensive and definitive guide to the history of Israel and Jerusalem in the platforms of the two major parties, going all the way from 1948 through 2012. And you can find them at our news blog at newsdesk.tjctv.com. Meantime, an incoming deputy speaker of the Knesset in Israel, Shlomo Mola of the conservative Kadima party, was interviewed this past week by the Jewish Channel, and he said that American voters shouldn't be taking Israel into account when making a decision about the upcoming presidential election, as either party is just fine with him.
We don't mind who is the president is coming to be a president, or a Republican or Democrat. That's American people choice. My expectation was, please put Israel outside your inside politics play. I think it must be an entire American issue only, who is the president. American people, they have to choose their own president, who is the base for America, not who is the base for Israel.
But of course, there are so many more decisions in life than who to vote for. One of them is whom to marry, and that's a topic treated in a new movie, as Rebecca Honig-Friedman reports.
Israeli cinema has really taken off in the last 10 years, and one of Israel's most acclaimed filmmakers has a new movie now playing in select cities across the U.S. We caught up with him on a recent trip to New York at the JCC in Manhattan.
I really like the idea of having a man who survived the Holocaust, who became a matchmaker, who wanted to triumph over all the pain and suffering, trying to find a way back to love, and a young boy who learns about love through this really kind of tormented man.
That's filmmaker Avi Nesher's summary of his newest film, The Matchmaker, in which the teenage Arik meets a Holocaust survivor, matchmaker, and smuggler named Yankele Bride.
אז אם מישהו מכיר דוד, דודה, או מישהו מחפש אבא, פונה אליי, אני גם נותן פרס.
Nesher first broke onto the burgeoning Israeli film scene in 1978 with his first feature film, Halakha, or The Troop, about an Israeli military band in the aftermath of the Six-Day War in 1967. The Matchmaker is set in roughly the same period in 1968 and is Nesher's version of a Holocaust film.
You know, my generation grew up with such a fear or such an aversion of the memory of the Holocaust that we couldn't really deal with that. And the movie's about that, you know, it's about a kid, 68, you know, learns the expression, make love, not war for the first time, learns about rock and roll and all the possibilities life can offer, and this very scary shadow of the Holocaust, of his parents friend, and he learns to deal. And in many ways, you know, it's my story, it's how I grew up.
Like Arik, Nesher is the child of Holocaust survivors, and he said his mother was initially afraid to see his newest film.
It got the most incredible reviews in Israel, and the biggest film critic in Israel congratulated me and asked me, had you might have seen it? And I said, no, she's afraid to go see it, and maybe if you called her, I said jokingly, she will go see it. And he said, I'll do better than that, I'll take her with me. And this only in Israel, right? Only in a small country.
For more on Avi Nesher and The Matchmaker, watch the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Rebecca. For those singles who are seeking, the high holidays can be a great time to meet people. Indeed, Yom Kippur was a major day for dating in ancient times. Something else that helps in meeting people is social drinking. So to mix the two themes of the high holidays and alcohol, Meredith Gansman went to one of the hottest kosher restaurants to see what cocktails could work for the season.
As you're planning your high holiday dinner menus, don't forget about delicious seasonal cocktails. And for a lesson in bartending those drinks, I came back to one of Soho's newest and hottest kosher eateries, Jezebel.
Top restaurants have great cocktails. They have fantastic, fun, enjoyable cocktails. We wanted a brilliant cocktail list. We wanted a renowned cocktail list.
The fun began with naming the drinks. The menu boasts the Kosher Nostra, the Hebrew Hammer, the Samson, and the Delilah. But the task of making these bold beverages kosher was put to mixology pro Nick Matone.
It's not about the limitations that kosher restrictions might provide. It's actually the opportunities that it gives you, which are great, to do something a little bit different, a little bit packaged, a little bit different.
Most liquors, such as vodka, gin, whiskey, and tequila, are kosher. But a cocktail is defined by its additional ingredients, such as bitters and liqueurs, like Campari and vermouth. These spirits, which have a wine or grape base, must use kosher wine and grapes. Otherwise, they cannot be certified as kosher, and most are not. So Mattone nixed many of the classic cocktails and instead is mixing up his own original concoctions with a signature Jezebel flair.
Because I'm not worried about doing the classic cocktails as kosher, although we have a couple, a Singapore Sling, we can do a great martini, but we can't do a Manhattan, let's say, because we don't have a great sweet vermouth that we can use, or at least not yet until we make our own.
Mattone opened the bar to TJC to make one of Jezebel's most popular cocktails, which you too can try making for your holiday guests.
So Nick, it's the holiday time, it's stressful, and you may need to be able to make a good kosher cocktail, and you're the man to show us how. What are we making today?
Okay, we're gonna make one of our signature cocktails. It's called the Kosher Nostra. So it's a mixture of Grey Goose Le Citron vodka, some orange liqueur, some secret spices, which I'll reveal here and now for you guys.
Exclusive.
All right, but you're gonna have to muddle, so I'm gonna have to show you how to muddle. Okay?
I'm ready to learn.
To see how you can make Jezebel's cocktails at home, tune into the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Meredith. That's all for this week. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, have a Shana Tova, a Happy New Year, and a Gut Yor, and be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable. Time Warner Cable Channel 528, IO Optimum Channel 291, RCN Channel 268, Bright House Channel 330, Verizon Fios Channel 900, Cox Channel 1, Frontier Communications, and now on Comcast Cable in the on-demand menu under Premium Channels. For more information, visit tjctv.com.